Today I thought I'd try my hand at making a so-called post bag video. That's where you open your mail on camera and show the items and describe them. I've seen this on YouTube before, and I'm kind of a fan of the format, so I thought I'd give it a try. Okay, I think I know what this one is. So hopefully I don't cut it. Yeah, looks like it's in good shape. Okay. Okay, so let me get it out of this plastic wrapper and then I'll look a little closer at it. Okay, so this paper is in kind of bad shape, but basically what this is it's a heated, I guess, cushion, chair cushion or a car cushion, and it's powered by USB. And I don't know how many, I think it's 10 watts. Yeah, it's 10 watts. And it's a little bit too big for the camera field that I have here, but I'm going to hook it up and just see if it does anything. Hopefully I don't know what kind of heating element it uses, but hopefully it can handle being folded, because this thing was really folded up. Okay, to perform the test, I have this USB meter here. I use this occasionally. It's pretty handy. So I'm going to plug it into this solar-powered USB DC converter, which is sitting right back here, and just see what kind of wattage I can get out of it. Okay, I don't know how clear that's going to come out, but so 5.1 volts. Let's just plug this in and see what happens. Yeah, it's not quite 2 amps, so yeah, it's not going to put out the full 10 watts, but it's pretty close. So while I'm waiting for this to heat up, that's assuming it does heat up, this was a very cheap cushion that I bought on eBay. And the reason I bought it is I'm interested in the concept of using something like this to help survive if you're really, really cold. You could put something like this inside your jacket and connect it to a pretty large USB power bank or even a solar panel, and just run this inside your jacket to help you keep warm. It's already getting quite warm. I can already feel it. It's not hot, it's warm. If you stuck this inside your jacket, it would give you extra insulation as well as heat. I don't know how good the quality is. I can't really vouch for it, but it was very, very cheap. So I'm going to show on the screen the auction site listing for this cushion to show the specs. And here's a quick look at the auction site listing, and unfortunately there's really no technical information. I know it's about 5 volts, 2 amps, 10 watts, and I don't know what kind of heating element it uses, whether it's a graphene or just some kind of other heating element. So unfortunately not a lot of information here, so not going to spend a lot of time on it. And there are many variations of this product on sites that are available, all different kinds. There's just all kinds, and I have another different kind coming in the mail, but it hasn't arrived yet, so maybe I'll do a video on that too. So I'm going to be experimenting with this type of device. I have some other things coming in the mail. They haven't arrived yet. And what they are is they're just heated pads. And I got to say, this is starting to get a little bit warm. And I don't know how long it would take to fully preheat. And now it's drawing. Well, you know, the USB power supply I'm using here may not be able to put out the full 2 amps. I have a feeling that that's the problem. So you would definitely want a heavy-duty USB power supply or power bank. But the fact is that 9 watts of heat, 8 or 9 watts of heat inside your jacket is calories you won't be burning to stay warm. So you could use this as some sort of survival technique, I guess. And that's what I'm experimenting with. Just how much heat is 10 watts to the human body when it's inside of a jacket? Is it any good? Is it worth the effort? If it was really cold outside, and I mean, would it reduce your calorie intake? Things like that. So it's just for an experiment, and it's just out of curiosity. All right, it's been about a couple minutes, and the center of the cushion is quite warm, quite noticeably warm. The outside is still cold. I don't think the heating element runs outside the middle. That's kind of a disappointment, but this was very, very cheap. I'm not going to knock it. It does what I want. I may even just take the heating element outside of this cushion, to be honest with you. You can actually buy heated vests and heated jackets and coats on various online sites. Some of them include a USB power bank, some of them don't. But generally speaking, it's just a heating element that runs off of 5 volts. And this is just hopefully a way for me to experiment with the concept to see, how much heat actually is useful. Right now, we're only getting a little over 8 watts. This skinny wire is probably the reason why, and this power supply here I don't think is capable of putting out the full 10 watts. I just don't think it can, but I'm just testing it, so I'm happy with what I've got. Okay, next up we have another package. And I think I know what this is. Been waiting for it, and I think I will have at least one video out after I test this. Nondescript box, 12 volts. Yep, it is what I thought. So what is it? Well, first we have a 12 volt cigarette lighter socket plug. These are known for getting hot. My guess is if I start using this, it's going to get really, really hot. However, this one doesn't feel quite as cheap as some of the others. In fact, the wire appears to be that kind of softer. Hopefully it's high temperature. So I don't know, this doesn't look too bad. It probably has a fuse in it. I wonder if it does have a fuse in it. And this is a 70 watt heated mug. But the reason I bought it is, number one, it has 304 stainless steel inside. That's what they said anyway. And it has, this is like, I guess like a cup. And it also acts like a stand, I guess. But it is stainless steel. Yeah, it is stainless steel. That's the inside of it. So full stainless steel, meaning your liquids will not come into contact with any plastic. And that's especially important if you're going to be boiling the water. So why did I buy this? And there's your 12 volt DC jack there. I don't know if that can handle 70 watts. That would be like 6-7 amps. I don't know. It was not very expensive, so I don't feel like I got ripped off. It doesn't look too bad. Here's the auction site listing, and they raised the price by about $3. I paid less than that, and it's sold as a car heating travel cup, 12 volts, thermos, travel mug, cup, kettle. But the most interesting thing is right down below, and that's in the description area. In the description area, it says it can boil water in about 10 minutes. So, high quality. Yeah, it's stainless steel. Smart thermostat. I can't tell if there's a thermostat or not in there. Drink tea and coffee. 304 stainless steel, food grade. And voltage 12 volts. Capacity is about 300 milliliter. And some other text here. So, for the money, it does seem like this is a pretty good deal. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. Who knows? We'll have to test it. The reason I got this is a while back I was complaining that there were no really small DC crock pots that don't use AC, and this caught my eye because this is basically, if I understand it correctly, this is basically a tiny crock pot. You could cook in this. It's a little too tiny, but for one person, if you're desperate and you're surviving, there's a lot of options here. There's only 12 volt DC. There's no inverter requirement. You could just hook this up to a car battery or even directly to a solar panel if you knew what you were doing. So before I put anything actually edible in here, I would definitely clean it with some detergent, because anything that's like machined or spun like this is going to have probably oils from the manufacturing process. And I don't know what to use this for. I don't know if this is meant to be like, I guess, a drinking cup. You pour it in here and you drink. But my interest is primarily for making coffee and cooking a small amount of food, soup, noodles, something like that. And it claims to boil water in 10 minutes. I don't know if I believe that or not. That's kind of what caught my eye about this device. And so I want to test it to see, can it boil water in 10 minutes? I don't know if I believe that or not, but I'm going to do a test here and we're going to find out. And I don't know if you have to put the lid on. And it's a very nice lid with a silicone gasket. I'm actually quite impressed for what I paid for this. I'm kind of just shocked. I don't believe it will boil water that fast. However, I can give it a try and we'll see. Now here I have one of my solar generators. You can see on the front there, we've got the DC output turned on. And the battery's not full, but it should be enough to test this thing and see if it'll heat up. Got the cigarette lighter socket adapter. And I'm just going to plug it in. I'm going to put water in, and we'll see what happens. All right, I've cleaned this out with detergent. I'll go ahead and pour some water in and plug it in. And 40 watts. Yeah, I don't know what happened to 70 watts. So it's definitely not 70 watts. I'm not getting 70 watts. But it is getting warm. I'm already noticing it's getting warm. So really all I can do is just run this for a while and see what happens. Maybe I'll go ahead and put the lid on just to help it speed it up. And what I am concerned about is that the bottom going to get really hot. It's just getting warm right now. I don't want to risk burning anything. I'll just put the lid on. Yeah, I'll just put the lid on. And I'm just going to leave this sitting here. It's using a solid 40 watts. I don't know what they're talking about with the 70 watts. Maybe with a 15 volt, if the car battery is 15 volts, but I'm not getting 15 volts here. So I'm just going to leave it running, and I'll check back in if it does anything. I had to change my setup. The solar generator I was using was nearly flat. It's a 3-cell lithium-ion system, so you get less than 12 volts. This one has more charge in it, and I'm getting more like 12 volts. Plus, I can get rid of this adapter and just plug straight in. So I'm just going to leave this sitting here. I don't believe 10 minutes to boil water. I just don't believe it. It's not getting hot enough. I could be wrong, but I really doubt that. Either way, I'm going to let it sit here and burn away, and I don't know. We'll see what happens, and then I'll cut back in with the results. Yeah, it's been several minutes, and I noticed there are some bubbles forming in the water. There's some bubbles forming on the walls of the cup on the inside. I don't know what. So it's up to 139 degrees. Of course, the water has to take time to come up. Yeah, it's pretty warm. So who knows? I'm just going to leave it sitting here, and I'll cut back in with an update. Okay, quick update. The outside of the cup, not the bottom, but the outside right here, has become too hot for me to hold my hand on. So it's putting quite a lot of heat out. Let's take a look inside. Yeah, it really looks like the water wants to boil. But we'll see. I'm just going to leave it running. It's not 10 minutes, so probably more like an hour. I don't know. But we'll see. I'm going to just leave it alone a little while longer and see what happens. Okay, I now have a distinct melting plastic smell. Well, it's faint, but it's there. And the water's boiling. Trying not to burn myself. Yeah, it's boiling. All right, next step is to put some noodles in there and see if they'll cook. Now, obviously, the boiling will slow down if you start taking the lid off. And if you put things in there that are cold, of course, that also slows it down or stops the boil. So I'm just going to leave the lid on. I'm not going to take it off for a while and try to get it hot again, get it boiling. It should cook the noodles. I mean, if you're in a survival or austere situation, you don't really care about being a gourmet chef. You just want something hot. If the noodles are not well cooked, I mean, who cares? At least you're not starving. So it looks like you could kind of cook in a device like this. And that's why I got it. I was curious. Just what can you get away with? So I'm just going to leave the noodles in there for a while and see what happens. Also interesting to note is the voltage has dropped under 12 volts. This meter is about 0.2 of a volts off. It's actually like 11.7, 11.8. So not the best voltage. It's not really getting, it's certainly not going to get 70 watts. But you saw the water, it was boiling, so I'm happy to see that. If water is boiling, it means you can cook something. I'm just going to leave it running for maybe another 10 minutes and see what happens. Does it cook the noodles? And of course, I'm not just looking at noodles. I'm thinking of cooking other things in here. And it could just be as simple as a can of beans, though. You know, if you're just surviving, whatever you have, just heating it up to reduce the amount of calories you have to burn to stay warm. And if you have a sharp eye, you can see there's steam coming out the top pretty good. So even though the lid's on, I made sure and vented it. There's a hole here. And you can see quite a lot of steam coming out. Let's just take a look inside and see how the water is boiling. Try not to burn myself. You really need gloves. This is dangerous. Boiling up a storm. All right, it's been about 15 minutes. My voltage has dropped down to 11.5. That meter there says 11.7, but it's actually 11.5 because it's about 0.2 of a volt off. So really not 12 volts, and it's not even close to 70 watts. It's around 40 watts. If my voltage was higher, I'm sure I'd get more. But the point is, it successfully boiled water, and I'm ready to take these noodles out. You can see it foaming up. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect it. There we go. And I want to go dump these out. They're boiling, and I got to take these in the kitchen and dump out the water and everything, and look at the noodles to see if they're actually cooked or not. I assume they are. They boiled in there pretty good. All right, there's the end result. I took them out, and they are definitely cooked. Let's see if I can pick one up. Oh, they're perfectly cooked, yeah. So I guess I'm able to handle cooking noodles, huh? So they're perfectly cooked, and of course I didn't cook very many because I was just playing around. So I would say this was a success, and this little thing can actually cook food. I'm very happy with it. Can you cook noodles off of 40 watts, or chicken or beans or soup or whatever you want to put in there? Yeah, it appears like you can. A couple of things to keep in mind though. This thing gets ridiculously hot on the outside. So I wouldn't say a fire hazard, but you definitely could burn your hand right here at the bottom. It just gets a little too hot. So what I did is I put it inside of something to keep it from tipping over. And I would recommend doing that to protect yourself from boiling water potentially spilling out of this thing. Boiling water in 10 minutes? No, not on 11.5 to 12 volts. It's not going to happen. But boiling water, yeah. Cooking food, yeah. A small amount of food for one person. You might have to run 1 or 2 cycles through this if you're trying to survive and you have a lot of food you want to process. But again, keep in mind, 40 watts is not that hard to generate. Even if you have a small system, you should be able to squeeze 40 watts out of it for an hour. That's a minuscule amount of power, and no campfire, and no need to fool around with that. You can just cook your food and be done with it. With 12-volt cigarette socket appliances, that's the weak link. These are not really designed to carry a lot of power, but this one didn't get too hot. I've seen these get too hot to touch. This one seemed to make it all right, just got warm. So it's a reasonable quality. Even the wire feels like reasonable quality. However, a little improvement you could make is to shorten the wire. Make it 12 inches or something. It'll be a little bit more efficient. You get a little bit more heat into the actual cup. Some of your 40 watts is being lost in this cord. If you make the cord shorter, you have a little bit more voltage being input here by the time it gets here. And so the heating element will be slightly more powerful, and you'll shave a little bit of time off the cooking. Okay, that's all for today's post bag. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.